Have you ever reflected on the idea that Europe is a prosperous, privileged continent, attracting millions in investments, yet suffering from a troubling demographic decline rooted in the very populations that inhabit it? A genuine social crisis is unfolding before our eyes, threatening to reshape entire nations, destined to alter their future after decades of stability. Across the continent, from the cold reaches of Finland to the sunny coasts of Greece, countless individuals are packing their bags and leaving their homelands in search of better opportunities or escape from declining prospects. What drives this mass migration? What forces compel Europeans to abandon their countries? And what repercussions will this exodus have on a continent long regarded as the cradle of Western civilization? Did you know that Latvia has lost almost a third of its population since the collapse of the Soviet Union? That is not an exaggeration. Nearly one-third of its people. In 1991, Latvia's population stood at approximately 2.5 million. Today, it's fewer than 2 million. This demographic collapse is comparable to the aftermath of war, and it predominantly affects young, educated individuals, those vital for the country's future development. In rural Latvia, the situation is even more dire. Entire villages are deserted, with abandoned houses, empty schools, and closed shops becoming common sights. Some settlements are entirely depopulated, with nature gradually reclaiming lands once occupied by human activity. If this trend continues, demographers warn, the country's population could shrink by another quarter within the next 20 years, raising serious questions about its long-term viability. Once considered a model of social stability and prosperity, offering high wages, quality health care, free education, and environmental care, Sweden now faces a troubling reality. A significant portion of its population is leaving. The underlying causes are startling, with rising crime rates, particularly in major cities, leading the exodus. Imagine a nation that for decades epitomized safety now experiencing frequent shootings, grenade attacks, gang conflicts, and violent clashes. According to recent statistics, Sweden ranks among Europe's countries with the highest levels of armed violence, a shocking turnaround for a society that once prided itself on security. This crisis is further compounded by an economic housing shortage. In Stockholm, securing a municipal apartment can take upwards of 20 years, and property prices have skyrocketed. An average home now costs over 500,000 euros. For many, home ownership has become an unattainable dream, even for those with decent incomes. Additionally, Sweden's long, dark winters take a toll on mental health, with months of continuous darkness and limited sunlight, sometimes only a few hours a day. Seasonal affective disorder is widespread among Swedes. Many individuals grow weary of endless winters and seek sunnier, warmer climates to escape the gloom and improve their well-being. Few would imagine that Britain, a wealthy nation admired worldwide and a magnet for migrants, is suffering from a severe brain drain and an unprecedented exodus of its citizens. Official statistics reveal that over the past year alone, more than 200,000 Britons have left the country, with many planning to settle permanently abroad, not just seeking temporary opportunities. The root cause lies primarily in a disastrous imbalance between income and living expenses. Take London as an example. An average resident earns roughly £3,000 a month, but rent for a modest apartment can consume two-thirds of that income. After paying utilities, transportation, and food, most individuals have little left for savings or purchasing property, dreams that remain distant for the majority. Meanwhile, the Brexit referendum and Britain's ongoing departure from the European Union continue to destabilize the economy, threatening job security. Businesses are shutting offices, employment opportunities are shrinking, and access to the European job market has become increasingly difficult. Even highly skilled professionals, doctors, engineers, and programmers, are flocking to countries like Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, where their skills are better appreciated and the quality of life more appealing. Similarly, the world's economic powerhouse, Germany, often viewed as an ideal place to live with its low unemployment and robust industry, faces its own paradox. German engineers, including young experts and even some retirees, are increasingly leaving the country because of surging real estate prices. Over the past 5 years, property costs in Berlin, Munich, and Hamburg have soared by 40%. For many Germans, owning a home remains a distant dream. They spend their lives paying rent, often dedicating a significant portion of their income to landlords. The tax burden in Germany adds to these challenges. The country's taxes rank among Europe's highest, with mandatory contributions to health insurance and pension schemes eating up as much as half of a worker's wages. Yet the quality of public services often falls short of expectations, complicating daily life. As a result, a newer generation of Germans increasingly seeks better living conditions abroad, opting for Switzerland, Austria, or Scandinavian countries, which offer lower taxes and a more balanced work-life environment. If this trend continues, Germany risks facing a serious workforce shortage, particularly in high-tech sectors. Meanwhile, Lithuania faces its own existential crisis. Over the course of 30 years of independence, its population has plummeted from 3,700,000 to just under 2,800,000, a loss of nearly 1 million. This decline has emptied entire towns, rendering cities that once thrived with scientific achievement into ghostly remnants. Migration waves, triggered first by independence, then by joining the European Union in 2004, and most dramatically after the financial crisis of 2008, have left a deep mark. The demographic outflow has decimated the country's human capital, with consequences painfully felt across all sectors. Once renowned for its innovation, Lithuania now grapples with a critical shortage of skilled workers, especially in healthcare, where regional hospitals operate with minimal staff or face closure altogether. Doctors are increasingly migrating to Western Europe, drawn by significantly higher salaries that offer more stability and better prospects. Italy, a land of timeless beauty, from imposing cathedrals to winding canals in Venice, from golden beaches of Sicily to scenic hills of Tuscany, remains a magnet for millions of tourists. Yet, for Italians themselves, their homeland is becoming a place they wish to escape. The country has been mired in economic stagnation for over 17 years, since the global financial crisis of 2008, with unemployment rates among youth soaring to 22%, one of the worst figures in the European Union. Graduates often struggle to find work in their specialty, settling instead for temporary contracts without social guarantees. The crisis hits hardest in the south, particularly in Calabria, Sicily, and Basilicata, where entire mountain villages have nearly emptied of their younger populations, leaving only seniors over 60. Municipal authorities desperately sell homes for a symbolic euro to attract new residents. Yet the ongoing exodus of young people only deepens these difficulties. Over the past decade, more than 500,000 Italians have left seeking employment abroad, further draining the nation's vitality. In contrast, Poland is regarded as one of the standout economic success stories of post-socialist Europe. Over 30 years, the country has made remarkable progress, modernizing its industries and attracting foreign investment, culminating in its accession to the European Union. Polish cities shine with cleanliness, and new shopping centers rival those found in Western Europe. However, paradoxically, despite economic growth, Poles continue to leave their homeland in droves. Since joining the EU in 2004, more than 2 million Poles have emigrated, an enormous number for a nation of just 37 million. The primary reason lies in wages. Although they are rising, they still lag well behind Western European levels. The average Polish earns about €1.40 monthly, whereas neighboring Germany offers wages approaching €4,000. With open borders, many prefer working abroad, causing local populations to shrink swiftly. Low birth rates combined with ongoing emigration threaten to reduce the population by several million more by the year 2050, deepening demographic crises. Spain, renowned for its sunshine, beaches, flamenco, and bullfighting, attracts over 80 million tourists annually. Yet Spaniards are increasingly leaving their homeland in search of better opportunities. The root cause is a dire labor market. Its unemployment rate hovers around 12%, one of the highest in Europe. Of particular concern is youth unemployment, which reaches nearly 28%. Many young adults, after years of university study and earning degrees, find themselves working as waitstaff or shop assistants under temporary contracts with minimal pay. The economic crisis has worsened these conditions. Paradoxically, the tourism boom that the government celebrates has made everyday life more difficult for ordinary Spaniards. Additionally, the rise of short-term rentals through digital platforms has pushed housing prices in major cities up by 50%, further complicating living conditions for many. In cities like Barcelona, Madrid, and Valencia, residents often spend up to 60% of their income on rent, despite earning relatively modest salaries. Over the past decade, more than 600,000 young Spaniards, mostly highly qualified professionals, have left the country, dealing a severe blow to an economy already burdened with structural issues. Spain, a nation renowned for pioneering modern human rights and crafting some of the finest cuisine in the world, now faces an unprecedented phenomenon, a mass exodus of its own citizens. Among the European nations, France stands out with an estimated 3.5 million expatriates, an ever-growing figure who choose to live abroad. This trend raises questions about what compels people to abandon a country long celebrated for its quality of life. Economic factors play a significant role. The housing crisis has reached alarming proportions. For example, the average price per square meter in Paris exceeds €11,000. With an average monthly salary around €2,000, tenants often allocate up to 70% of their income just for rent. Meanwhile, France's tax system, considered one of the most complex and burdensome in the world, drastically hampers entrepreneurial activity. Overall, taxes amount to roughly 40% of the nation's GDP, one of the highest rates among developed countries. Unsurprisingly, many entrepreneurs, investors, and self-employed professionals prefer to relocate to jurisdictions with more favorable tax regimes. Consequently, France has witnessed a significant exodus of its educated and ambitious citizens, particularly the creative class. Over the last decade alone, an estimated 500,000 such individuals have left for countries like Canada, Switzerland, Belgium, and various Asian nations. Portugal, known for its stunning landscapes on the westernmost edge of Europe, offers a picturesque scene of Atlantic beaches, charming villages, ancient fortresses, and vineyards, a haven for tourists. Yet behind this idyllic facade lies a harsh reality. Portuguese nationals are increasingly leaving their homeland, primarily due to economic hardships. The country boasts some of Western Europe's lowest wages, with an average income at around 1,200 euros per month. At the same time, living costs, especially in Lisbon and Porto, are rising rapidly, with modest apartments in the capital costing at least 800 euros monthly, leaving most of their income devoted to housing. The housing crisis is further exacerbated by foreign investment. Golden visas for wealthy investors, tax incentives for retirees, and the growing popularity among digital nomads have driven property prices upward. Over the past 5 years, housing costs in Lisbon have surged by more than 70%. As a result, local residents find themselves increasingly displaced from their neighborhoods. This situation is especially dire in inland regions, where many central and northern communities are experiencing population declines of over 40% in the last 3 decades. Schools, shops, and bank branches are closing as towns face depopulation, leaving many areas on the brink of extinction. Meanwhile, tourist zones along the coast manage to maintain some stability, but the interior areas continue to fade into obscurity. Maintaining infrastructure has become economically untenable for many nations. Greece, a country teeming with rich history, vibrant culture, and stunning landscapes, finds itself at a crossroads amid the uncertainties of European civilization. After enduring a decade of severe economic turmoil, Greece is now facing a demographic crisis that threatens its very existence. The financial crash of 2008 struck with unprecedented force, leading to a nearly 30% decline in gross domestic product and causing unemployment rates to soar to 27%. International lenders imposed austerity measures that devastated the middle class, drastically cut pensions and social welfare, and underfunded healthcare systems. While headlines have moved on from dramatic crisis reports, the underlying issues persist. Wages remain painfully low, averaging around 1,000 euros monthly. At a time when living costs continue to rise, many Greeks find even modest lifestyles unaffordable, and as a result, over 500,000 people have left the country. An exodus often described as a brain drain, as highly skilled professionals like doctors, engineers, scientists, and programmers seek opportunities elsewhere. They migrate primarily to wealthier Western nations, including the Netherlands and distant Australia. Meanwhile, Finland frequently ranks among the world's happiest countries, boasting a high standard of living, excellent education, a generous social safety net, and breathtaking natural scenery, elements seemingly making it an ideal place to live. Yet paradoxically, an increasing number of Finns are choosing to leave their prosperous homeland. The harsh climate heavily influences this trend. Prolonged dark winters, heavy snow, sub-zero temperatures, and limited daylight, more than 50 days of polar night in Lapland, adversely affect residents' mental health. Official health statistics reveal Finland's leading position in Europe for seasonal affective disorder and depression. Demographically, the situation is alarming. Birth rates have plummeted to historic lows while the population ages rapidly. Currently, 1 in 5 Finns is over 65, and this proportion continues to grow. Young people increasingly seek warmer, more populated areas, And over the past 20 years, roughly 150,000 Finns have emigrated, a trend that shows no signs of slowing. This demographic crisis affecting much of Europe presents unprecedented challenges: shrinking, aging populations, depopulated regions, and a dwindling workforce demand innovative solutions. Some nations are trying to attract immigrants from within the European Union. Others are implementing measures to boost birth rates. Still, efforts to encourage nationals to return remain largely ineffective so far. Perhaps we are witnessing the emergence of a new paradigm, an era of pragmatic contraction, where instead of fighting demographic declines, European countries adapt to them. This shift involves concentrating populations in sustainable, livable areas and gradually relinquishing less viable territories, allowing nature to reclaim some of the land. Demographic shifts in Europe are far more than mere statistics. They represent the hopes and struggles of millions seeking a better life, as well as their disappointments. These changes signify a profound transformation of the entire continent, unfolding before our eyes. Such evolving patterns reflect ongoing societal struggles, where hopes for growth clash with challenges of decline. What do you envision for Europe's future? Can the continent, with its aging population and declining birth rates, effectively navigate its demographic crisis? Moreover, what valuable lessons from Europe's experience should other regions worldwide consider as they face their own population challenges?